In this video, I'll be sharing a list of questions all founders should ask developers before hiring them. Your app is like your daughter, your precious baby. Developers, we are the boyfriends. We all want to date your daughter. We all say we can take care of her. But can we? Some guys just want to have a good time. Some have good intentions, but they're not mature enough. And then every once in a while, there's a guy who brings the total package. You can't blame us. Of course, we'll try to say all the right things. It's your job to make sure your app is in safe hands. To do that, you will need to ask developers the right questions and be on the lookout for red flags. By the end, you will have a list of questions to evaluate any developer you meet. You know what makes a good answer and whether it means a developer matches your needs. Of course, this is mainly meant for non-technical founders looking for their first ever developers. But even if you've hired one before, use this to see if there are new questions you can add to your list. If this is the first time you're seeing me, my name is Adrian Cheng. I own an app development agency in Malaysia called Upstack Studio. My team and I have spent the past 5 years building apps, and quite frequently, non-tech founders come in for a first meeting not really knowing what to ask. Sometimes, I can't help but think that they are a bit quick to trust. If I wanted to, I can easily inflate my price quote and they probably wouldn't realize. And trust me, some agencies will do that without a second thought. I don't want that to happen to anyone, and I hope this video makes sure it doesn't happen to you. All I ask for in return is to subscribe and hit the bell icon. All my content is geared towards helping non-technical founders like you understand the different parts of app development so that you can make better decisions. No, don't worry, I'll ask you again at the end of the video once I've demonstrated value. Let's begin. I'm actually going to start with a question you should not ask a developer, only because it's impossible to answer. How much does it cost to develop an app? A lot. Not very helpful, I know, but there's really no specific answer. An app can cost $30,000 or $300,000. What about your app? $3 million and 75% upfront. I'm joking. Cost is something that a developer can only estimate once they understand the scope of your project. Then they can give you their hourly rate and total expected hours. And it's still going to be off at least a little. If you like, check out my ultimate app cost breakdown, link in the description. Or here, I explain every factor that affects hourly rates and total hours, and there's tips on which ones non-technical founders can safely play around with. Anyways, what's the first thing you should find out from a developer? Question number 1. What's your development methodology and process? Say you come to me with a project. You have an idea, but you're not sure about execution. I'll definitely recommend Agile methodology. I will build you the first, most crucial 10%, then work with you towards 100% based on user feedback. Say you come with a second project. It's 90% done and you're sure of what you need for the other 10%. I'll still go with Agile. To me, there's no 100% in software development. You always need to leave room for surprises and improvement. But that's just me. Your developer will have their own preferred methodology. I've explained my reasons. Let your developer explain theirs. The development process will always be the same. We show our clients something like this. As you can see, it refers to the stages your developer goes through to design, build, test, and maintain your app, and an estimate of how long each step will take. Any competent development team will have a plan like this. Question number 2. Have you worked on similar projects? Ideally, this is when your developer say,
yes, here's our portfolio of 400 identical apps.
At that point, your developer can just sneeze and your app will fall out of their nose perfectly finished. Obviously not, but a developer with relevant experience can give time and cost estimates that are significantly less inaccurate. Where it's really valuable is you can check out their work to see if it matches your expectations. Now, you have a reliable baseline. As a non-tech founder, especially if it's your first project, you won't have much experience. And if your developer doesn't, I don't know, few things matter as much as experience. Even an unsuccessful experience is better than none. If your developer can explain why a previous project went wrong and what they learned from it, that is a team prepared this time, and they will go the extra mile to make sure your project succeeds. Because now, it's their reputation on the line. Question number 3. What kind of tech stacks do you use? This question changes how a developer sees you because it's pretty specific to software development. It tells the developer,
okay, this person has done their homework and I'm going to take them more seriously.
The tech stack is a software combination we use to build the front and back end of an app. The actual components that make up a stack are always the same. You need an operating system, user interface, and everything in between. Together, they make up the front end, which is what users will see, and the back end, what we will see. Thing is, there's many software options for each component, and the developer will normally specialize in a few of each based on their niche. My agency specializes in building web and mobile applications. We use React Native to develop cross-platform mobile applications, and for mobile responsive websites, we use React.js for frontend and Ruby on Rails for backend. You ask another developer and they might have the same stack as me, but instead of Ruby on Rails, they'll use Laravel. Are either of us wrong? No, the stack is a tool. Some tools are marginally better than others at a specific task, but all of them will get most jobs done. And any tool is only as good as its users. In this case, it's really just that their developers are comfortable with Laravel and mine are comfortable with Ruby on Rails. We can still both build the same thing. It's hard to question an app developer about their choices, simply because of the difference in technical skill. If you want to be sure that a stack makes sense, I recommend getting a second opinion. What's that? Can you hear something? What is that? Oh, it's beautiful. Question number 4. What's your communication process like? I need to start by saying that I don't mean to be rude, but every competent developer's dream founder is someone who tells us what they want and then stays out of the way. Until the next time we need to ask them something. Honestly, I think that's just about anyone in the service-based industry. Anyways, the communication process depends on methodology. Some have frequent communication throughout development, others focus more on the beginning and not so much in the middle. In my case, I always want to involve founders in the journey, so I recommend Agile methodology with a Scrum approach. Here's what that looks like in practice. Step 0. The project is divided into blocks of time called sprints, each lasting 2 weeks. Step 1. We meet with you before a sprint to discuss action items. Step 2. We align on what needs to be done within the coming 2 weeks. Step 3. We build the product, you build the business. Step 4. We meet at the end of 2 weeks for a progress update and plan for the next sprint. Step 5. Repeat forever. Remember, there's never 100% with us. In between the 2 weeks, treat no news as good news. In between the 2 weeks is the stay out of the way part. A sub-question here is what kind of tools or apps your developer will use for communication. They should cover 4 things: overall project management, virtual meetings, instant messaging, and visual aids. There's a ton of great options out there. At Upstack Studio, we personally use ClickUp to manage our projects and Google Meet for meetings. For instant messaging, we use Slack, so we just add a client into the workspace. That way, they can easily report bugs or changes to requirements, or if they've run out of money. For discussions with lots of visual brainstorming, we use an app called Miro. And to show clients designs, mockups, wireframes, etc., we use something called Figma. Like I said, tons of options. The only wrong answer is no answer. Question number 5. How many team members will you assign to my project? Your project should have at least one dedicated designer, a developer with back and front-end expertise, and a project manager to keep everything on track. Generally, it's better if the agency can assign at least 2 people for a role. More hands on deck means the work gets done faster and we can hold each other accountable, so the quality is actually better. And there's always the project manager that watch over everyone. To you, it's the same charge because it's still the same total number of hours. If your app is going to need a lot of complex research or features, you may need more senior stuff. That's going to cost more money, but it's something you just can't avoid. If it makes sense, the agency can assign a mix of senior and junior developers. Question number 6. How much do you think it will cost and how long it will take? The big one. This is when you hold real tight to your wallet. It's gonna be empty pretty soon. If you're in the market for an average app, nothing too fancy, but not the kind of stuff you can build in a day. Expect at least $30,000 to $35,000 per app if you are talking to a developer in Asia. I say per app because depending on what you need, you might have to spend on 2 apps, one for Android, one for iOS. Or you might just need cross-platform app where one app can work on both systems. Or you might just need a mobile site. They are way cheaper and faster to build, and sometimes they work better as a solution. So do this. Find out the average app development cost in the region, Asia Pacific, South Africa, Modor, Hogwarts, wherever your developer is from. When your developer gives you an estimate, ask them to break down the cost. If it goes beyond the average range, ask them why. Your app could be really complicated, almost always a sign of unnecessary features. Your developers should be asking you to cut down on them instead of saying yes to everything. And if they quote you a price below the range, also ask why. Is your app really that simple, or are the developers just eager to get you as a client? If it's the first one, fine. But if it's the second one, I would be concerned. App development is not cheap. There are lots of moving parts and man hours involved. Competent developers attract customers based on competence, not price. Nothing wrong with wanting a good deal, just remember, you get what you pay for. Speaking of getting what you pay for, if you found this video helpful and you would like to see more, please pay me by subscribing and checking out my channel. Lots of content covering app development from a non-technical founder's point of view and lots more to come. And that's it. Let's just recap the 6 questions to ask developers. Question number 1. What's your development methodology and process? Question number 2. Have you worked on similar projects? Question number 3. What kind of tech stacks do you use? Question number 4. What will your communication process be? Question number 4.1. What kind of apps or tools do you use for communicating? Question number 5. How many team members will you assign to my project? Question number 6. How much do you think it will cost and how long it will take? Question 6.1. Can I get away with just a mobile site? For your convenience, I've compiled these questions into a free cheat sheet with space for answers. You can make as many copies as you want, so when you meet a developer for the first time, make a new copy, ask them the usual questions, and write down what they say. After a round of interviews, compare them side by side, and you should know who's the best choice and whether best is good enough.
But Adrian, can't I just email developers the documents and ask them to mail the answers back?
Well, you can, I just wouldn't recommend that. You can get real-time answers, which are usually more truthful. You can also evaluate less quantifiable factors like language fluency, punctuality, patience, ability to explain, and just see if they passed the white check. There's so many technically proficient developers out there. It's quite reasonable to wait for someone that's pleasant to work with. Can you see yourself working with this team for at least the next 6 months? Potentially forever. An email won't tell you that. So ask for a meeting whenever possible. If you find this useful, I would really appreciate it if you will subscribe to my channel. Actually, new rule, no free lunch. If you want the cheat sheet, subscribe. Thanks and take care, guys.